A series of ear-piercing, mournful howls echoed from the smoke pillars, enveloping the surroundings. The 8 smoke pillars did not remain still. Instead, they circled around Wong Lin like a storm, rushing towards the incoming Yin Luan, engulfing her in the tempest. The booming sounds reverberated across the heavens and earth. This scene was witnessed by many elders of the Great Soul Sect nearby, each of them looking extremely serious. Wong Lin's divine ability was too astonishing. Even they, upon seeing it, felt a surge of unease. This is purely an ancient path divine ability, completely different from our immortal clan techniques. Ancient path divine abilities are rarely used all at once. They are often a series of combinations that explode with overwhelming power at the final moment. This person's identity is too sensitive. Why did the ancestor bring him back? Although his cultivation seems ordinary, under this divine ability, even I would be forced to retreat. A single mistake could lead to death. The cultivators from the ancient kingdom possess extraordinary physiques. This person's physical strength must be exceptional. Yin Luan's hair scattered wildly. Within the 8 smoke pillars forming the beacon firestorm, everything before her eyes was dim. The constant howling surrounded her ears, and the endless suction force seemed on the verge of tearing her body apart. A life-and-death crisis gripped her mind. Who was he exactly? That previous fire smoke ring divine ability was already astonishing, but now he has this terrifying ability too. Yin Luan had no time to think further. She bit her tongue, spitting a mouthful of fresh blood. Then with a wave of her jade hand, she grasped the blood and squeezed it fiercely. With my essence blood, I call upon the ancestral souls of the Great Soul Sect to break through the void. Soul illusion return. Yin Luan's voice was sharp, carrying penetrating force, and it pierced through the beacon firestorm, reaching the ears of everyone outside. As Yin Luan crushed the blood in her hand, crimson mist began to rapidly spill out from between her fingers. In an instant, this mist connected behind her, forming a red blood trail that extended into the endless void, leading to an unknown destination. A deep, muffled roar rumbled from the depths of the blood trail. Suddenly, a strange space seemed to open up within the blood trail, and from within emerged a figure engulfed in blood-fiendish aura, with countless vengeful souls swirling around its body. As this figure stepped onto the blood path, the world seemed to tremble. It's the 9th ancestor. Yin Luan's soul illusion return technique can actually summon the 9th ancestor. When did she acquire this kind of formidable willpower? The 9th ancestor, Luo Yunhai, in the murals within the sect, is depicted as a ruthless figure who slaughtered throughout his life, imprisoning billions of souls, a peerless powerhouse. When the 9th ancestor reached the peak of his cultivation, he challenged Tao E Grand Heavenly Venerable, but was defeated and killed. However, due to his valor, his soul was not destroyed but instead returned to the sect. A wave of astonishment swept through the crowd as the blood-fiendish figure, emerging from the blood path behind Yin Luan, became visible to everyone. The blood-fiendish figure had no discernible head or features, and its body was blurry, but the blood aura it emanated was overwhelming. As soon as it appeared, it took a single step forward. With that step, the world shook violently, and a terrifying pressure of evil spread rapidly, causing the beacon firestorm around Yin Luan to collapse, as if unable to bear the force. Even Wong Lin's mind shook, and his eyes gleamed with sharp light. The Taoist techniques of the Great Soul Sect are truly astonishing. The position of Elder offers me numerous advantages. Whether it's the soul evolution path or this soul illusion return, both are incredibly powerful. I must learn them. Wong Lin's eyes flickered, and under the immense pressure of the evil aura, he took 3 steps back. The Tao Ancient aura surged from within his body, forming a huge Tao Ancient phantom behind him. The illusion quickly solidified, looking incredibly realistic, adorned in ancient armor. The figure resembled none other than Wong Lin himself. As he retreated, Wong Lin raised his right hand and, with a quick motion, extended his index finger, pointing forward. Demonic path, life and death reversal. At this single gesture, Yin Luan's expression changed immediately. She could clearly feel that the immense vitality within her body was rapidly transforming into death energy, a wave of weakness instantly spreading throughout her being. Even as Wong Lin's demonic path finger moved, the entire world seemed to be engulfed in a thick, oppressive death aura. This death aura originated from the countless souls that had perished within the Great Soul Sect over the years, now fused into the death energy of this single move. The death aura surged like a sea, vast and mighty, as it seemed to spread into a dead sea outside the Great Soul Sect, with wailing, sorrowful howls echoing in all directions. Under this divine ability, the elders of the Great Soul Sect, who were approaching, quickly changed their expressions. They retreated instinctively. Only those of the highest cultivation could remain in place, but even they appeared deeply solemn. Their eyes, fixed on Wong Lin, were filled with deep war. The deathly aura condensed in an instant, far more than expected, and it was far from over. As waves of death chi rapidly spread from the earth, enveloping the surroundings, Wong Lin once again heard a faint roar from deep beneath the ground. That roar was the roar of the heavenly ox. Beneath this ancient earth, the heavenly ox was sealed. In truth, it had been in a state between life and death. Its body had merged with the earth. Its spirit had become the essence that nourished all living beings, and its soul was suppressed. Yet, its unyielding will remained ever present. At this moment, under Wong Lin's reversal of life and death in the demonic path, an enormous, earth-shattering death chi erupted from deep within the earth. As this death chi surged from the ground, the world was covered by a mist. The dense death aura filled the sky, merging with the Dead Sea. In front of Wong Lin, it transformed into a massive heavenly ox. This heavenly ox's expression was fierce, its eyes bloodshot, and its roar was filled with an unwillingness to die, shaking the heavens and earth. Upon the appearance of the heavenly ox, the entire Great Soul Sect trembled. The elders around them shuddered, their eyes filled with disbelief. Heavenly ox? Is this really the heavenly ox? It has transformed into the form of the heavenly ox. This is impossible. How could this happen? Even the old monsters within the Great Soul Sect, who had not appeared but were observing through their divine sense, were shaken at this moment. They rushed out from their mountain peaks and gazed at the awe-inspiring death chi of the heavenly ox in the sky. Even some of the older experts, who had felt the battle unworthy of their attention, were moved by this sight. At the deepest part of the Great Soul Sect, in a supreme mountain, an old man sat cross-legged. His appearance was identical to that of the azure ox true form. His identity became immediately clear. He was the true body of the azure ox true one. His closed eyes suddenly opened, revealing rare excitement. The soul can summon the heavenly ox. The one the ancestor spoke of, it is him. Many years ago, the ancestor moved the Great Soul Sect to this heavenly bull continent and chose this earth fire vein as one of its peaks, all to wait for one person. This person can summon the heavenly ox. This person comes from the abode realm. He is not from the immortal firmament continent. He comes from the abode realm. It could even be said that, in a sense, he is very similar to the 72 ferocious beasts sealed beneath the 72 continents of the immortal clan. The heavenly ox comes from beyond the heavens, not from the immortal firmament continent, and this person is the same. That is why he can summon the soul of the heavenly ox. As the death chi heavenly ox appeared, Luan's face turned ashen. She never imagined that this battle of magic would escalate to such an extent. A roar echoed through the world as the death chi heavenly ox tilted its head and roared, sweeping the Dead Sea. Its body surged directly towards Luan. At the same time, the blood fiend phantom on the blood path behind Luan stepped forward once more, taking 3 steps. With every step, Luan's face grew paler, yet a stronger pressure emanated from the blood fiend phantom, clashing with the death chi heavenly ox. The sound of explosions reverberated in the air as the death chi heavenly ox and the blood fiend phantom, though still some distance apart, collided with each other's pressure. The force of the impact seemed to reverse the very fabric of the world. The blood fiend phantom twisted and eventually dissipated, but at the same time, the death chi heavenly ox crumbled, its essence breaking apart and disappearing. The deathly ox shadow was merely a part of the heavenly ox's will, far from the true celestial beast. Yet, its power remained formidable. God, demon, devil, the ancient path without immortals. Wong Lin muttered as he extended his finger, forming a palm, and lightly struck forward. At that moment, the power of the three ancient clans within him fused rapidly and exploded in an instant as he clenched his fist and struck forward. With the punch of the ancient path without immortals, behind Wong Lin, the Tao ancient giant wearing ancient armor suddenly opened its mouth and let out an invisible roar. With Wong Lin's punch, the power surged forward. This punch struck the void, but 9 waves of energy rippled outward. Wherever the waves passed, the earth cracked, the sky rumbled, and everything in their path, mountains, pavilions, and all outside the Great Soul Sect, flickered with a grayish light, rapidly petrifying. Luan spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated rapidly. Her face paled, and she looked at Wong Lin with a gaze full of terror. Just as the 9 waves of energy were about to strike Luan, a low shout suddenly echoed through the heavens and earth. Enough! Luan, step back. Do not disrespect the new elder. As for your flame vein peak, I will personally make amends. Luan's body was suddenly pushed back by a force from the divine sense, and she was forced to retreat under the overwhelming pressure of the divine sense. The elders of the Great Soul Sect around fell silent, as the dramatic changes in the world slowly came to a halt. Between Wong Lin and Luan, where the divine sense had descended, an old man appeared. He was wearing blue robes and had snow-white hair. This was the Azure Ox True One, the true form of Qing Yo. The moment his physical form solidified, his primordial avatar stepped forward and merged with his true form, creating a blurry phantom behind him. A terrifying aura emanated from this old man, one that, in Wong Lin's perception, surpassed even the peak of the 7-colored immortal venerable. Late void tribulation stage. Wong Lin's expression remained calm, but his pupils subtly contracted. Greetings, ancestor. After the old man's form transformed, the once silent elders of the Great Soul Sect all bowed respectfully. Even Luan's expression darkened, and in a state of uncertainty, she lowered her head and respectfully greeted him. Only Wong Lin remained standing, unbowed, his expression serene as he cast a glance at the Azure Ox True One. Luan, Elder Wang is a guest I have invited. From now on, he shall be one of the elders of our Great Soul Sect. As for your Flame Vein Peak, I will arrange for you a new mountain peak abode, and in the Soul Repository Pavilion, you may stay for 3 days. The Azure Ox True One spoke slowly, looking at the beautiful young woman, Luan. Luan fell silent. Though reluctant, she remembered Wong Lin's terrifying divine abilities and nodded in silence. This matter is settled. Everything regarding Elder Wang is a secret of our Great Soul Sect and must not be leaked. Anyone who violates this will be dealt with according to the sect's rules. The Azure Ox True One's expression turned serious as his gaze swept over everyone present, finally resting on Wong Lin. Elder Wang, welcome to the Great Soul Sect. The Azure Ox True One smiled. Wong Lin also smiled, cupping his hands in a polite salute to the Azure Ox True One. As all eyes turned to him, Wong Lin spoke with a smile. I am new here, so if I act recklessly, I hope all fellow cultivators will kindly overlook it. Wong Lin's smile was gentle, and his words were not arrogant, but warm. Combined with the divine powers and methods he had previously demonstrated, his speech immediately won the respect of the elders, who returned the gesture with polite salutes. Elder Wang, you are too humble. We are all fellow cultivators from the same sect, and we will surely help each other. Haha. Elder Wang's cultivation is extraordinary, and his divine abilities are truly remarkable. In our line of work, strength is paramount. There's no such thing as recklessness. If you have time, Elder Wang, you should come to Pine Cloud Peak. I have some celestial tea collected by young maidens. We can have tea and discuss the Tao. Polite words continued from all around. Wong Lin, without showing any impatience, smiled and replied to each of them. Afterward, the elders of the various peaks bowed and departed, turning into streaks of light as they returned to their respective peaks. Soon, the sky outside the Great Soul Sect was left with only Luan, Wong Lin, and the Azure Ox Patriarch. In the distance stood Yin Luan's disciples, among them Fan Sha Mang, whose gaze toward Wong Lin was filled with complexity. Elder Wang, please select a mountain peak for your abode here at the Great Soul Sect. I can personally arrange it for you. Once you are familiar with the sect, you may come to me. Every elder of the Great Soul Sect has one opportunity to enter the Soul Repository Pavilion, where many divine abilities and techniques are available for selection. In addition, I have prepared 3 gifts for you, which I have been waiting to give you for a long time. Now that you have arrived, I will present them to you. They will be of great use to you. The Azure Patriarch's words conveyed his deep regard for Wong Lin, a fact that Yin Luan clearly heard. She sneered inwardly, but said nothing. Wong Lin gave a slight nod, his gaze shifting to the Great Soul Sect. From this position, he could see the Crimson Peak, now in a pitiful, decayed state, far less glorious than before. After a brief moment of thought, Wong Lin decided that there was no need to search for a new peak for his abode. He had originally caused the damage to Yin Luan's peak, and no one would accept it lightly. Senior Azure Ox, there is no need to search for a new peak for me. Flame Vein Peak will do. Wong Lin pointed toward the dim and ruined mountain peak in the distance. As for a new abode, it should be for Yin Luan, Wong Lin said, giving the beautiful young woman a gentle smile. Yin Luan was momentarily stunned, her expression softened. Yet, the anger in her heart did not dissipate. Seeing Wong Lin smile at her, she snorted coldly and glared at him. The Azure Ox Patriarch watched the scene with a hearty laugh and nodded. So be it. In 3 days, you may come to Azure Sky Peak to find me. He raised his right hand, and a jade slip materialized in the air, flying toward Wong Lin. This jade slip allows you to freely enter most of the Great Soul Sect's restricted areas. Wong Lin accepted the jade slip without a word. With a flash of his figure, he headed toward the dim and decaying mountain peak. As he passed by Yin Luan's disciples, his steps paused, and he cast a mysterious glance. Fan Sha Mang was swept by Wong Lin's gaze, her heart trembling. She quickly lowered her head. With impressive cultivation, she, like Du Qing, had reached the 7th stage of the profound tribulation. Back then, she and her sister had become Dao partners to the 7-colored Immortal Venerable. This had nothing to do with cultivation, but with the fact that she was a disciple of the Great Soul Sect. However, there was a deeper reason behind it, perhaps linked to a certain opportunity. Otherwise, with the 7-colored Immortal Venerable's cultivation at the early Void Tribulation stage, he would never have chosen her as his Dao partner. The 7-colored Immortal Venerable's life was full of change. His passion and infatuation were not obvious to outsiders, but throughout his life, even after reaching the mid-Void Tribulation stage and becoming a mighty figure, his feelings for Fan Sha Mang remained clear. Perhaps it was precisely because of this that when he learned of the ambiguous relationship between Fan Sha Mang and Lian Daofei, his rage was so intense. My abode is lacking a female attendant. This one will do. Yin Luan, bring her to me, Wong Lin said, his steps pausing. In that instant, he raised his right hand and pointed at Fan Sha Mang. At the point of his finger, Fan Sha Mang's mind shook as she heard Wong Lin's words, her expression immediately changing drastically. You wish. Yin Luan, whose composure had been difficult to regain, exploded in anger the moment Wong Lin spoke. Her eyes gleamed with murderous intent, and the expression on her face gave her an unusual, captivating beauty. Wong Lin chuckled, his body transforming into a long rainbow as he flew into the Great Soul Sect. His earlier gesture had a deeper meaning. After his departure, Yin Luan suddenly turned to Fan Sha Mang, her eyes gleaming with a strange light, as if she was thinking something unknown. Under the weight of her master's gaze, Fan Sha Mang bit her lower lip, feeling uneasy. She dared not speak, keeping her head lowered. On the dim Flame Vein Peak in the Great Soul Sect, Wong Lin stood there, his divine sense spreading, enveloping the entire mountain. The peak had withered due to the decay of the main earth-fire vein, now resembling an abandoned ruin. Even the mountain's structure seemed brittle, as though it could collapse with a slight force. But this posed no obstacle for Wong Lin. He raised his right foot and gently stepped down. In an instant, his fire primordial true body materialized behind him and merged with the mountain. The moment the true body fused with the mountain, a vast sea of flames erupted. The flames roared, seemingly connecting heaven and earth, surrounding the peak in a furious blaze. Having lost the power of fire, I shall replenish it for you. Having lost the will of fire, I will make my will the mountain. Wong Lin murmured. The firestorm roared, destroying all the previous restrictions within the mountain. As new ones were formed, the peak's color changed, transforming from dull to a bright crimson, as brilliant as the sun. Moreover, the flames burned much fiercer than before. It was as if the mountain would forever burn without ever extinguishing. Luan saw this and clenched her silver teeth. Any slight relief she had felt about Wong Lin taking over the broken peak instantly disappeared. I will never tolerate him, she seethed internally. A surge of anger built up within her, held back until Xun'er patriarch helped her set up a new mountain. Afterward, she immediately summoned Fan Sha Mang. Fan Sha Mang, go to Flame Vein Mountain. That Wong Lin wants you to be his female attendant, so go serve him. Master. Fan Sha Mang's face turned pale, trembling as she dropped to her knees, her expression full of sorrow, tears welling in her eyes. But Luan only scoffed coldly at her pitiful look. So this Wong Lin is the one you mentioned before, from the abode realm? Humph, put away your charms. They are useless to me. You are inherently promiscuous, and you killed your Dao partner, the seven-colored immortal venerable. You even caused Lian Daofei to enter the Seven Paths Sect's abode realm due to your disappearance. I don't need your abilities, but if you can use them to kill this Wong Lin, I won't mistreat you. Fan Sha Mang's delicate form trembled, and she raised her head to speak. Say no more. Go, or don't go, you'll still go. Kill him for me. This is your expertise. With your charm and allure, you can do it. Go. Luan waved her sleeve, and a powerful gust of wind whisked Fan Sha Mang out of the mountain. Outside the peak, Fan Sha Mang stood silently for a long time. Turning toward Wong Lin's blazing mountain, her eyes were filled with deep hatred. If it weren't for Wong Lin's earlier words, Luan would never have sent her out. Kill him. Her master's words still echoed in her ears. Fan Sha Mang took a deep breath, her hatred fading as it was replaced by a calm, seductive look. She walked gracefully toward the burning peak. The heat inside the peak was overwhelming. Approaching it, beads of sweat formed immediately, and if she got any closer, it felt as though her blood would boil. Within the entire flame vein peak, Wong Lin only retained 3 abodes. All others had been destroyed. Now, only he sitting cross-legged in the abode that originally belonged to Luan. Wong Lin's primordial origin avatar transformed behind him, gradually merging with the mountain peak, as if he and the peak had become one. Wong Lin breathed for a moment while seated, then opened his eyes, a flash of brilliance gleaming within them. Great Soul Sect. Wong Lin raised his right hand and flipped it over. Immediately, a purple jade slip appeared in his hand, exuding an ancient aura, tinged with a faint decayed scent. Soul Evolution Art. The most skilled person I've met in the art of calculation is Tian Yunzi. Lin also possesses a similar Dao technique. This divine ability of deduction is incredibly useful. I once relied on Tian Yunzi's avatar to calculate and avoid multiple life and death crises. Now, with this soul evolution art in hand, I must master it. Otherwise, on the immortal firmament continent, I would be hard-pressed to move an inch. More importantly, I need to hide all my actions so that others can't easily calculate them. Wong Lin murmured, his divine sense spreading out to envelop the jade slip in his hand. At that moment, Wong Lin suddenly looked up. The entire flame vein mountain had fused with his primordial origin avatar, to the point that the mountain felt like a part of his true body. He clearly sensed that outside the peak, a woman was approaching. The woman paused outside the mountain, and after a brief silence, she lowered her head. A soft and melodious voice echoed from her. I, Fan Sha Mang, am here at the order of my master, as instructed by Elder Wang, to request an audience. Fan Sha Mang. Wong Lin smiled faintly and lowered his head, no longer paying attention to her. Instead, he immersed himself further into the jade slip, slowly studying it. Soul is the Tao becomes the soul, the path of evolution seeks life. The moment Wong Lin's divine sense merged with the jade slip, an ancient voice reverberated in his mind. The voice carried a strange power, drawing Wong Lin deeply into it, as he comprehended the soul evolution art within the jade slip. Time passed slowly, and before long, a day had gone by. Fan Sha Mang remained standing outside the peak, her head lowered in silence, waiting. The heat was intense, waves of it crashing over her, causing her clothes to cling to her body with sweat, making her extremely uncomfortable. Yet, she stood there, waiting for Wong Lin's summons. This feeling made her feel helpless. As she recalled the scenes from years past, a flicker of resentment flashed in her lowered eyes, but she quickly concealed it. Inside the mountain's abode, Wong Lin opened his eyes, gazing at the jade slip in his hand, and fell silent for a while. 49 billion rune inscriptions. Each inscription takes time to imprint into the soul. 100,000 inscriptions are considered minor achievement. 2,700,000,000 for intermediate, and 49 billion for major achievement. This technique is quite bizarre. It's easy to begin, but the further you go, the more difficult it becomes. And the inscriptions become more intricate with each step, taking longer to imprint in the soul. This is the soul evolution art of the Great Soul Sect. Wong Lin muttered, his expression odd. According to the jade slip, entering the first stage only takes 3 days. Within 3 days, anyone who has reached the third step of cultivation can complete 100,000 inscriptions on their soul. But to reach intermediate level, it requires 999 years and constant seclusion. That's possible, as recluses in cultivation for 1,000 years are not rare. But for mastery, 49 billion rune inscriptions would require seclusion for 178,000 years. Wong Lin frowned. He was beginning to understand why the Azure Ox Patriarch so readily handed over the soul evolution art to him. This technique couldn't reach full mastery. At most, it could reach intermediate level. With a cold snort, Wong Lin closed his eyes again and continued to immerse himself in imprinting the rune inscriptions into his soul. Soon, as dusk fell on the third day, the world turned a golden hue, with a faint somber undertone. Wong Lin opened his eyes once more. Just as the jade slip predicted, 3 days, and 100,000 rune inscriptions have been imprinted into my soul. Wong Lin raised his right hand, performed a hand gesture, and touched his forehead. Immediately, his body trembled, and streams of soul energy emanated from his crown. The soul energy spiraled and quickly formed into a small figure above his head. This figure was only 3 inches tall, its body made from the 100,000 rune inscriptions imprinted into Wong Lin's soul. The figure didn't resemble Wong Lin at all. It had only a pair of eyes, no nose, mouth, or even ears. The small figure leaped lightly, landing in front of Wong Lin. As Wong Lin extended his right hand, the figure leapt again and stood in the palm of his hand. Staring at the small figure, Wong Lin's eyes gleamed with curiosity. The 100,000 runes flashed continuously on the figure, but it seemed almost invisible to the naked eye. Yet, when using divine sense, it appeared as an empty shell. As Wong Lin stared at the figure, it gazed back at him, its eyes clear and sparkling with an indescribable aura. In that brief moment of eye contact, Wong's soul evolution art, unravel the mysteries of my own existence. Wong Lin suddenly spoke, attempting to predict his fate. The moment he spoke, the tiny figure in the palm of his hand trembled, emitting waves of faint light. The figure immediately shot towards Wong Lin, kneeling in his palm, and bowed to him. At the moment of the first bow, as the tiny figure's head touched Wong Lin's palm, a strange force seemed to explode from the figure's body, rushing into Wong Lin's palm and flowing into his mind. Wong Lin's vision blurred, and he vaguely saw a mist filled with bloodlight. He could barely make out countless figures, but their identities remained unclear. At this moment, the tiny figure bowed again. The second time its forehead touched Wong Lin's palm, a mighty force surged within Wong Lin's mind, causing a rumbling in his brain. The mist before his eyes seemed to part under this pressure. He faintly saw a mountain, surrounded by thunder, as if it were the ultimate thunder mountain. Beneath it, he saw a figure, someone seemingly suppressed under this mountain of thunder. Lightning descended from the sky, striking the mountain, and above, a massive chariot made of thunder appeared, with a figure made entirely of lightning standing in it, looking down at the earth. Wong Lin's heart shook. Without a second thought, he focused intently on the figure beneath the mountain, wanting to see its face. But it was still blurry and indistinct. At that moment, the tiny figure in his palm trembled, bowing for the third time. As its forehead touched Wong Lin's palm, Wong Lin's body jolted, his mind roaring. It felt as though he had gained a second surge of power to break through the mist, allowing him to clearly see the figure beneath the mountain. The figure was none other than himself. As soon as he saw this, the illusion before him collapsed with a thunderous crash, as though a star from the immortal realm had fallen upon him. His mind contracted rapidly with a boom. Who will use this thunder mountain to suppress me in the future? Wong Lin's expression twisted. As everything collapsed, he forced his mind to remain intact. He suddenly looked up, determined to see the figure in the thunder chariot clearly. Soul evolution art. Activate once more. Unable to see clearly, Wong Lin refused to give up. As his mind transmitted the command, the tiny figure in his palm trembled and bowed a fourth time. With a booming sound, Wong Lin's world seemed to be pierced by a massive thunderclap, lighting up the blurry surroundings. In that instant, Wong Lin saw the figure in the chariot clearly, his face revealed. The moment he saw it, Wong Lin's heart shook, his body trembling. The illusion shattered completely. He opened his eyes and found himself once again in the abode realm. The tiny figure in his palm now seemed dispirited, its eyes dim, motionless. After a long silence, Wong Lin couldn't forget the face he had seen. It's impossible. How could this be? Wong Lin's face showed confusion. After a long pause, he clenched his fist and absorbed the tiny figure into his soul, nourishing it. This is strange. But the soul evolution art can indeed predict future changes. Once the soul is nourished, I may be able to use it to find the whereabouts of Situ, Qingshui, Li Qianmei, and the others. Wong Lin murmured, suppressing the shock caused by the vision. After reaching his current cultivation level and experiencing so much in life, even a catastrophic event like this could be buried calmly within 3 days. I still don't know what those 3 gifts from the Azure patriarch are. And he also mentioned I could enter the Soul Repository Pavilion at the Great Soul Sect to choose a divine ability. Wong Lin thought of the illusion technique of the Great Soul Sect and what Yin Luan had once performed, summoning the soul of the sect's ancestor. After a brief moment of contemplation, Wong Lin stood up, took a step forward, and walked out of the abode realm. Upon stepping onto the burning peak, he saw Fan Sha Mang standing outside, looking incredibly weak. She stood there, and when she saw Wong Lin appear, her expression became complex. Just as she was about to speak, Wong Lin's body swayed, and he passed her, heading straight for the flame vein peak. You! Fan Sha Mang's eyes flared with anger, but she suppressed it, watching Wong Lin's figure disappear. She took a deep breath, calming herself, and continued waiting. She had no choice but to wait. Wong Lin's figure turned into a streak of light, leaving the flame vein peak and heading deeper into the Great Soul Sect. The broken jade slip left by the Azure Patriarch contained maps of the various peaks, clearly showing the location of Azure Sky Peak. Wong Lin sped through the many restrictions of the Great Soul Sect, which turned into layers of ripples in front of him, having no effect at all. Finally, he stopped outside Azure Sky Peak, looked at the mountain, and cupped his hands, his voice ringing out clearly. Junior Wong Lin. May I ask if the entire Qingtian Peak trembled, and all the restrictions around the mountain dissipated? An ancient voice floated out from within. At the peak, I will wait for you. Wong Lin subconsciously spread his divine sense and swept across the peak. His expression immediately turned serious. The mountain seemed ordinary, but in reality, there was a powerful aura emanating from it. This aura was the very essence of the mountain itself. This is a mountain transformed by a magical treasure, Wong Lin thought, his body shifting as he headed straight for the peak, swiftly soaring like he was entering the clouds, soon reaching the summit. At the peak of Qingtian Peak, Azure Ox True One sat cross-legged, clad in blue robes, his white hair fluttering in the mountain wind. Wong Lin remained calm, sitting across from him, also crossing his legs. The soul evolution art is indeed extraordinary. 17,800 years of cultivation might even rival the immortal emperor's preceptor. The depth of the Great Soul Sect's foundation is truly impressive, and I, Wang, have deep admiration for it." Wong Lin spoke slowly. Upon hearing this, Azure Ox True One laughed heartily, his expression neither embarrassed nor awkward, but rather composed. "Indeed, Elder Wang is quite right. Upon entering our Great Soul Sect, you have taken pride in it, which is very commendable. I have always believed that anyone who can meditate for 17,800 years, solely cultivating the soul evolution art, will certainly have the calculative power to rival that of the national preceptor. 17,800 years of cultivating a divine ability with no growth in cultivation, and one's life force and lifespan diminishing. Such a person, does he even exist?" Wong Lin's words were blunt and direct, his frustration with those 17,800 years clear. "Haha. Well, I've never heard of anyone in the Great Soul Sect who has perfected the soul evolution art. Even the first-generation ancestor only inscribed 4.1 billion runes. However, Elder Wang, your talent is astonishing, and your opportunities abundant. Perhaps you may find a way to perfect our sect's ultimate art." Azure Ox True One smiled slightly as he spoke. "You're full of nonsense." Wong Lin cut him off, his words sharp. He rarely spoke so harshly, but the look on Azure Ox True One's face truly irked him. The moment those words left Wong Lin's mouth, Azure Ox True One was visibly stunned. Clearly, he hadn't expected such a response. Blinking, he felt a twinge of guilt and chuckled awkwardly. "Forget it. Let's not talk about this. I have 3 gifts here that the Great Soul Sect prepared for you. They will be of great use to you." Saying this, Azure Ox True One quickly raised his right hand and waved it forward. Instantly, 3 beams of light shot out, transforming into 3 ornate boxes that flew towards Wong Lin. Wong Lin waved his sleeve, effortlessly collecting the boxes into his robes without even glancing at them. "Please don't tell me these boxes require 17,800 years to open." Azure Ox True One coughed awkwardly before responding. "I'm not sure about that. These 3 gifts were prepared by the first-generation ancestor for you. The Great Soul Sect has preserved them for generations. As for what's inside, I don't know. Even if something goes wrong, don't come looking for me." Seeing Wong Lin furrow his brow, Azure Ox True One stood up, pointing to the sky. Immediately, a massive crack appeared outside Qingtian Peak, revealing another space within. In this space was a towering 9-story pavilion. The pavilion was shrouded in mist, partially visible, and an oppressive aura emanated from it, as if coming from the very souls. Even from outside the crack, Wong Lin could feel this pressure. "I still have a furnace of elixirs to refine. You go ahead and enter the Soul Repository Pavilion to choose a divine ability. According to the sect's rules, you can only choose one. If you want to select another, you must first complete a sect mission." Azure Ox True One said, then vanished in an instant, using a teleportation technique, leaving Wong Lin alone. Wong Lin stood up, ignoring the departing Azure Ox True One. He gazed at the crack in the sky. After a moment of contemplation, he stepped into it. The moment he entered the crack, a vast pressure enveloped him. This was a blurry space, with no sky or earth, only the giant 9-story pavilion surrounded by mist. Outside the pavilion stood 2 enormous beast statues, crouching and lifelike. The pavilion's door was shut, and everything was silent, except for a faint flicker of light coming from the 6th floor, as if someone was moving inside. Above the entrance, 3 large words were carved. Soul Repository Pavilion. This was the sacred place of the Great Soul Sect, where all the sect's cultivation methods and divine abilities were stored. It appeared peaceful, but Wong Lin could sense that danger lurked within, with an unknown number of terrifying threats hidden here. After a moment of silence, Wong Lin raised his foot and walked toward the entrance of the pavilion. Just as he was about to approach, he suddenly paused and quickly turned his head, his eyes locking onto the massive beast statue to his right. The beast appeared to be a Qilin, but there was something distinctly different about it the moment Wong Lin's gaze landed. The fierce beast statue suddenly began to squirm. Amid the surrounding distortion, a low growl echoed, reverberating in Wong Lin's mind. "Bring me the jade slip." Wong Lin's eyes flashed as he discerned that the statue actually sealed the soul of a powerful fierce beast. This soul had been suppressed here, and after fusing with the statue, It could unleash various divine abilities. With a flick of his right hand, the jade slip given to him by the Azure Ox True One appeared. The moment the jade slip materialized, Wong Lin felt a flash before his eyes, as if a red light had flickered, and the jade slip vanished without a trace. The squirming statue's mouth seemed to be chewing, and after a moment, it spat out the jade slip. You may enter the Soul Repository Pavilion and choose a divine ability or cultivation method. The statue's divine thought transmitted to Wong Lin, and it slowly ceased its movement, no longer distorting space. It became still, just like an ordinary statue. Such speed. Wong Lin's pupils contracted. He hadn't clearly seen the statue's movements earlier, but with a moment's thought, he realized that the flash of red was actually the fierce beast's tongue. Once the statue became motionless, the massive door to the 9-story pavilion slowly opened a crack. Waves of soul fluctuations emanated from within, adding to the heavy pressure in the area. Wong Lin remained calm, stepping toward the door and entering through the crack. The moment he set foot on the first floor of the Soul Repository Pavilion, he saw its secret. The room spanned several thousand zhong, filled with figures about 7 feet tall, each sitting cross-legged in midair, eyes closed in meditation, completely still. However, powerful cultivation waves emanated from them. Wong Lin's gaze swept over the thousands of figures. Some were male, some female, some old, some young. But without exception, all were soul bodies, and each soul body contained a divine ability or cultivation method. Soul Repository Pavilion. Wong Lin murmured. After scanning the room, his eyes fell upon the staircase leading to the second floor. The staircase emitted a faint glow, as though a restriction existed. Those who lacked sufficient cultivation could not ascend. Clearly, the higher one went in this Soul Repository Pavilion, the more refined the cultivation methods became. Wong Lin waved his sleeve, passing over the hundreds of soul bodies, and walked toward the stairs. The moment his foot touched the first step, a powerful repulsive force surged, as if trying to stop him from advancing. This repulsive force was formidable enough to block anyone below the level of a third-step expert. However, for Wong Lin, it was insignificant. His expression calm, he continued his ascent, stepping lightly on the stairs, the creaking sound filling the air as he reached the second floor. The second floor of the Soul Repository Pavilion also contained thousands of soul bodies. The divine ability aura they emanated was several times stronger than those on the first floor, but after a brief scan, Wong Lin could not find the 2 divine abilities he sought: multiple illusion technique and the soul summoning method for the Great Soul Sect's ancestor. The methods here mostly align with the Void Nirvana level, and their power is remarkable, but for me, they are useless now, Wong Lin murmured, and after a brief pause, he made his way to the staircase leading to the 3rd floor. 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor. Wong Lin didn't stop long at each level as he made his way to the 5th floor. Here, the number of soul bodies had dramatically decreased to only around 500, and the cultivation methods they emanated hinted at the realm of Void Nirvana. Clearly, this floor was for Void Nirvana cultivators. Although Wong Lin couldn't see the specific changes or mantras, he could feel the immense power within each divine ability. If any of these soul bodies were taken outside, Wong Lin wasn't sure what would happen, but if placed within the abode realm, it could trigger a massive calamity. Despite the allure of these powerful divine abilities, they were not what Wong Lin sought. His gaze shifted to the staircase leading to the 6th floor, and with a flash in his eyes, he proceeded toward it. The moment his foot landed on the stair leading to the 6th floor, a thunderous sound exploded in his mind, as if he had been struck, causing his body to shake. His step froze, and he remained motionless. On the 6th floor, Luan sat cross-legged, with a soul body floating above her head. Threads of soul energy drifted from the soul body into her mind. At the instant Wong Lin's foot touched the step to the 6th floor, Luan suddenly opened her eyes, revealing a strange expression. At this moment, the one who could have entered the Soul Repository Pavilion is likely that Wong Lin. This person's cultivation is strange. He can't possibly be.